Yeah.
All right, Fred Warner. Let's
All
talk
right, Fred
Fred.
Warner, first off, yes. It's a good day for the 49ers franchise. I saw that this morning. It was something I expected, hoped for. Obviously, there's some dread, but I'm glad they got that done. I like the emotional side of this, that Fred is now getting more per annum than any other linebacker in the league, averaging 19 million over Bobby Wagner, who I think is the market setter before him. And he's second only to CJ Mosley with guarantees. So it's about 14.5 million, I think. And CJ Mosley is like 50, 51, something like that over there for them. But yeah, I really like that. That's a centerpiece to the defense. He's definitely a foundational piece that they will continue to build around. He's team captain, I feel, of the defense. So this is good. They had to do it, and they had to do it now. No locker room distraction from this. Get it done before it drags out. And I think I'm expecting the 49ers have done something here to make it team friendly. Have you seen the details of the contracts?
I have not, but I think Wagner's was a 3-year deal. Warner's is a 5-year deal. So I'm expecting it's going to be, backloaded, pushed back, which will be team friendly.
2026, correct?
Yes.
I mean, we're about to get the best part of his career, so that's important. He wanted to be a 49er for life. He's at least a 49er for the heart of his career.
That's a great point. He hasn't reached his prime yet. He's 24 years old. This is kind of the thing that I felt with Buckner. Like, they let Buckner go when he was 25. He's actually just hitting his stride, his prime in Indianapolis right now. Should be here. He should be one of these guys who's in the 49ers Hall of Fame at the end of his career. Anyway, he's not going to be, but Warner will. As long as he doesn't get hurt, Warner should be one of the guys who's in the Ring of Honor and all these things. He's only 24 years old, but he's accomplished a lot, and he's improved every year he's been in the league. Never missed a game.
Absolutely, and I mean he's the best coverage off-ball linebacker in the NFL. I mean he's a great player. So this is something the 49ers had to do, especially after, like you said, losing Buckner. I think that plays into this. The cap space was there, but also because the fact they can't do this again. And he, like I said, he's someone they're going to have to build around, and he's really necessary, at least to the scheme that Salah was running. So the whole, I feel like with the whole wide nine that Kosarek brought to us, I feel like Fred Warner is very necessary as a coverage linebacker in that kind of scheme. So I think he's not only just the best, but I think he's really good with us. And I think that our defensive scheme caters to his talents, and we absolutely need him.
Yeah, and there's one more point. The fact that they got this done now, like, this was way different than the George Kittle situation, because Fred Warner, it almost was in his interest to wait. Now, it's dangerous to go to training camp and play without that extension because people get hurt in camp, especially on the Niners. But if he waited, now, for example, like, this is good news for Darius Leonard in Indianapolis, another inside linebacker who is up for an extension. And, if he signs tomorrow, we'll probably get more money than Fred Warner just got, because that's how it works in the NFL. One guy sets the market, then the next guy beats it.
And he does not deserve more than Bobby Wagner, but it's just whoever gets the latest contract tends to be the highest paid.
Exactly. And there's a reason why Darius Leonard's waiting. I'm sure he looked at this as good news today. I'm sure
absolutely.
He saw Fred Warner. He's like, yes, I'm going to get more than Fred Warner. Warner could have played that game too, but it seems like what's more important to him is to take ownership of this entire team. He was talking at the state of the franchise. Absolutely. I mean, there was never any question about is he playing hardball here? No, he's all in. All in.
And he did, and for the record, he deserves this contract. For whatever few days he has the glory of being the highest paid linebacker in the league, it should absolutely be Fred Warner or Bobby Wagner. And because of this being a more modern contract than Bobby Wagner's, it should be Fred Warner. So yeah, he deserved this contract, but I'm glad that his heart was here to stay. Another thing is Fred Warner also realizes this is a great situation for him. Yeah. And he will thrive here more than he was somewhere else. I strongly believe this because of his familiarity, his comfort with the fan base, the city, the team, everything.
Also, there's something about him, maybe I'm projecting, but it seems like he's a little bit of a throwback in the sense that modern athletes who are much younger than you and I don't seem to have any allegiance to teams. It's like, you know what? Exactly. I'm going to take my talents here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to play with my friends. I like going to Miami, or I want to be here. It's like, he's like, nah, I got drafted by the Niners. They made a commitment to me, and I'm going to make a commitment to this team, and I'm going to take ownership of this team. It's not just about my career. It's about this team's accomplishments, and I'm going to be at the forefront of that. I'm going to lead this. It's really cool to see it, because I mean,
absolutely. And that's something I used to miss about baseball in the early 90s, the 80s, the 70s. is that teams with it, of course the players unions and the contract issues, they do play into this, and they do sometimes get in the way of a player's desire to stay, like Jason Giambi with the Oakland Athletics. But in this particular case, in this modern economy of the NFL, he had to make a concerted effort to stay here, and that shows, and I'm really glad to see that. And this is somebody I think the fans should really get behind. I think some 54 jerseys should start selling like hotcakes, because this guy's going to be here, and he's demonstrated the loyalty that the fan base demonstrates to him.
Yeah, he wants to be here on the 49ers.
This is old school. I see what you're saying. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Staley was like that. There are players like that, but it's rare. I mean, look, Niner fans love Nick Bosa, okay? Nothing against the Bosas in general, but those guys are mercenaries. Straight up. And that's how they do business, and there's nothing wrong with that, because the NFL will chew you up and spit you out. There's no loyalty on the team's end, really. It's nice to see a player like Fred Warner just step up and be the example. So I
wish we could get the older Bosa to come here, because that I think could keep us Nick Bosa as well, but that's going to be a pipe dream, unfortunately. But if we could get the brothers on the team, maybe towards like the tail end of his career, as Bosa's due for another extension or something, it would be pretty cool to have them both here. But you're right, unless it's of personal interest to them, they're not going, and monetary interest, they won't stay.
Yeah, I mean, so Nick Bosa was in Florida all offseason. Fred Warner was working out in OTAs without an extension, because that's his defense.
Fred Warner, he's an athlete. He's a football player. That's the thing. He's on this team. He's a 49er
and it's his team.
First.
It's
then
his
he's
team.
a linebacker.
It's not just that, it's his team, Sybil. That's what I love about it. It's like, no, I can't miss this OTA. It's my team.
He has a very Uncle Sherman approach as far as his ability to be serious and have fun. Whereas George Kittle, you need him in the locker room, but he's like the courtroom jester. I mean, he's not necessarily the leader that Fred Warner is. He's the wild card, and everybody loves him, and it's fun to have fun with him. He's the one that quarterbacks are going to hang out with. But Fred Warner is the studious one. He's the dynamic player. He's the full athletic football player. He's a businessman. He's a franchise player. He's an athlete. He's the most rounded football player I think we have on the team. Sometimes I think that's why he's so good.
It's the most mature player on the team too.
Ability, it's his intelligence as well.
Oh, it's his emotional maturity too. He's a natural leader.
It shows in the way he hits as well. Like he doesn't fight Bowman or Willis people. Not quite. I don't think he thumps quite like those, but he wraps them up Jimmy Ward style.
Yes, he does. His technique is terrific.
And everything like that. He's a very attention to detail kind of person. And that's why I want to see Dre Greenlaw develop into a more Bowman style hitter. I would love to see that. Have a Punisher and an eraser side by side.
Yeah, Greenlaw does have some velocity behind his hits. He's really quite good.
He has some thump. It's like an immovable object hitting a movable object when he hits people, like the goal line stop in Seattle. That's
absolutely.
Greenlaw.
Domain Threat says Warner is by far the most important player on this defense. Strongest leader as well. Quarterback of the defense, had to re-sign him. Yeah, yes. And if he costs $19 million, what's Bosa going to cost in 2 years? My God.
He's not, who knows? I say he won't go for Aaron Donald money, but if he stays healthy, what team wouldn't look at him in the future, at least upper echelon towards that direction of financial commitments? His contractual numbers might be pretty high if he strings together 2 or 3 healthy seasons. Also, the main threat, that is a great name. You should play
great name. Shivnor says, it's so good. Shivnor says Fred's dedication to the Bay is not only admirable, but proves he's a player who deserves unwavering loyalty from the fans. Yeah, he is very dedicated to the Bay. He's from Oceanside, which is down by San Diego. And what I've noticed, I went to UCLA, and I always really got along with people from San Diego, although I felt like they were totally opposite from me in a lot of ways. I always felt like I got along with them. I don't know what it is. There's like a lack of pretentiousness of people from San Diego. Also, there's a very strong, they're very laid back, which is similar to Bay Area people, but what's different and I liked is there's a very big military influence in San Diego. And I don't know if
West Marine Corps, Miramar, you have the basic underwater demolition school there for special warfare is nearby. I mean, San Diego Bay, the Navy SEALs, they swim their final test in training around the bay. It's pretty cool.
And I don't know if he's a military brat or not, but he carries himself like he is. Like he's been raised around military. He's very serious.
Yeah, we call that military bearing is what we call that. His bearing is very good. It's interesting you should say that because it's his ability. He'll make eye contact and he'll get very studious and he'll look away and he'll straighten his shoulders when he talks. So he has a very court presence.
Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
yes. And I like that. I mean, it's all part of his why he has.
And also his toughness. He's very cold and tough when he has to be. That's humility speaking, and that's
Yes.
what he has.
Yes.
And and if you notice, he's not so fired up in the locker room or on the sideline, but when he makes a hit, a stop, a forced fumble on the field, he goes animalistic. And that's a true man, a true athlete right there. He saves the talking and the fire for the hit after he gets the hit. And I love that about him. He's so awesome.
I like that.
Like a real martial artist or football player, they don't say anything until they've knocked the other guy out, and then they let it out. And that's Fred Warner. Love that.
That's a good call. He's very quiet in the locker room. You're right. He is quiet in the locker room.
And that's why tight ends should be terrified of him.
He's scary. He's very, very serious. As I'm more like Kittle and Kittle. I'm loud. I talk a lot. I'm not particularly intimidating. I'm not saying Kittle's not intimidating, but Fred Warner is terrifying. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. That's all we're going to say about Fred Warner. If you have other questions, if you want to continue the Warner discussion, feel free.
I think it was Steve Noor. That was a great comment you made. Thank you for that.